All right, this is what we're going to do today then. First, I'm going to go over what's on here, and I think that's going to actually help with what we're doing. Um, we are going to make some revisions to that BMI program. I'm going to show you, I went and redid the BMI program. That's with the BMI JPS. All right, and just so you see it, um, now it looks like this, which doesn't look that different from what we had yesterday. However, when you run it, it looks like this, which is a lot better than it looked yesterday. So if I come in here, and again, I can show you the toasts now. So if I come in and type in 72 and 111, for example, and then I click calculate, oh, that showed you that it worked. Let's clear. So I'll put in 72 again, and I'll put in 1111. You can see that's off, so to speak. Now when I click, there's the message. See that toast down here? All right. So that is one thing. And when we finish today, I'm going to go back and literally just start a new project and build this just so you can see exactly how I did it. All right. I just took my time today and it was fine. So that's the first thing that's on there. That's what's in under BMI JPS. You may want to just use that one. All right. So that's the first thing. The second thing, I know you'd ask some stuff about constraints. I found some stuff online. Some of these are better than others, but I wanted to mention just a couple of these. In fact, I'll just open them all. All right. And um, we're not going to go over any of them. You can go over any you do or don't want to go over. This was from developer.android.com. It's build a UI with a layout editor. Okay, so that's just an overview. Then there's another one from them that's in here. It's not it. Build a responsive UI with constraint layout. So you can, again, look at those if you want to. Don't look at them. All right. This was one I found, again, under developer.android.com. Use constraint layout to design your Android views. Now, it's 50 pages, but a lot of it is just pictures and stuff. And if you're interested in this, I don't know if I put that in there or not. Maybe I forgot to. Probably, knowing me, I did. Yep, I did. But there is a download that goes with that one too, if you're interested in that. This is another one. I get stuff every week from a guy named Ray Wenderlich. He has a website and he puts out books and courses on um, iOS development and Android development. For a while, this was Android and this was iOS, but lately this is iOS and this is Android. But he had this article that's out here, Constraint Layout Tutorial for Android Complex Layouts. Again, there's a download for it, so if you're interested in either of these, let me know and I'll send you the download. Sorry, I thought I had them, but I guess I don't have them on here. Here's another one from medium.com, exploring the new Android constraint layout. I'm not going to go over any more of them. All right, that should be enough. But there's plenty in here for you to take a look at if you're interested. All right. Now, what I want to do, in fact, maybe I'll just change the order of this up a little bit. This is the one that we're going to do, but I very quickly want to show you that there is yet. So I'm going to save all this, and I'm just going to start up a new project. So I'm going to close this and start up a new one. You don't have to do this if you just watch for about 5 or 10 minutes. And I'm just going to call it Throw Me Out because I want to do that when I get done. All right. I'm not going to put any code in here, but for lack of better words, I'm going to build the same interface that I just built. Okay, because I want to show it to you and I want to show you how I removed the different errors and the warnings and everything else that was in there. All right, so I'm just going to go over to activity main here. It's funny when I did this before, this was way up in the upper left-hand corner. So sometimes it even moves around a little bit. You know, I'm talking about with a brand new project. So I'm going to get rid of this, highlight it, hit delete. I didn't have to do that. But so the first thing I'm going to do is grab a text view and I'm going to put it right there. All right, I'm not going to worry right now about names. I'm not going to worry about anything right now. But what I am going to do is right away, I'm going to constrain it over here. I'm going to constrain it over here. So it is now centered. That should make sense to both of you. I'm also going to literally just pull it up to the top. And then I'm going to tell it I want it to go down about 32. Okay, does that make sense? So now it is constrained, except the bottom isn't constrained. I don't want to constrain the bottom because it would go down, basically go down to the bottom then. So I did that, then went in here. You know this. So I went in and went into res, went into values, went into strings, and started making my different strings. So I immediately came in here and said main title, and just put in here, Bmi Calculator or something along those lines. All right, so got that. Went back into here and changed this, so got rid of this, changed the text in there, changed it to main title, so that was done. Okay, then immediately went in and started looking at what I could change. Everything here is okay. The size, etc., is okay. The text was okay. I went in and said the font family was even okay, but I wanted it to be bigger. So I went into the text size and changed it to 30. Again, you can see exactly what happens when I do that. All right. Then I went into text color, clicked on here. And when you do this, notice it changes the text color here. So you can manually change it. You can come over here. So I could go to black right here. Or I could just come in here. I'm just going to cancel that. And I can manually do it too. So I'm just going to put in here pound 000000, hit enter. Boom, it's now black. I'm going to go over to bold here and do that. So that's how I did that. Does that all that make sense? All right. And you notice right now there's nothing showing here. There's no errors. There's no anything. So I went in and then just grabbed in and threw in a couple text views, put in one here, put in one here. Again, the order in which you do this, you already know this doesn't really matter. All right. So, but I did go over here and I said, you know what? I want to constrain this right to the edge. So there it is. But then I came over and said, you know what? I do want to move this out of the way. So I'll move it to 32. So you can see now that it's over here. Now this one, I'm also going to constrain to the edge here. And again, I'm going to move it out to 32. All right. But I also want to start doing some constraints in here. So if you look, I'm going to click on here. I want to hold this and constrain it to the bottom of this. Does that make sense? So there are different ways you can do it, but one way you can do it with just dragging. So I'm going to come over here and drag, and you'll notice you get some goofy looking lines, but that is what I want. All right, and I want to move it down now because that's not where I wanted it. So yeah, there it is. So this is now constrained here. Does that make sense? All right, and then I want to take this one. I'm going to just move it a little bit, but not too much. I won't move it at all. I'll just take it and literally, I'm going to constrain that one to this one, or try to. You can probably see why this isn't all that popular. And it says, do you want to constrain it to the top or the bottom? To the bottom. All right, so these two are now constrained. All right, and if you look in here, what does this say? It says, well, right now it's giving me the error message that says I should be using the string reference. So again, I would come back into strings, and I would come in here and do, and I decided I'm going to start renaming my stuff. So I did this because I'm going to call that thing height text view. So I just put, edit text. And the other one is going to be weight edit text. There's nothing special about doing this. You by no means have to do this. But I just thought it made more sense to me like that. So this is going to now be height. This is now going to be weight. Whoops, I'm still not done, but it's getting there. So I'm going to jump back into here, click here, and now I want to come back, get rid of this, and again, change my text. All right, and change my text to height ET. So there's that one. Change this one to weight ET. And there's that. Now, one thing I didn't do And I'd like to say, oh, I didn't do it on purpose just to show you guys, but no, I'd be lying. But let's go into here. That's 36 now, and that's 32. So I want to make them so they're even. So that's now 32. So now these two do line up. But I should have changed all my names. So my ID, instead of text view here, this is TV title. And again, I like doing it this way. I like being prompted like this and tell it to refactor. So I'm going to change this one. This is another text view, so this is TV height. Again, I'm just going to be asked this every time. And this one is going to be TV weight. All right. Any questions on any of that? Then I'm going to drop in two different text views or edit text. But I just decided I'm going to use number and I'm going to make it decimal. All right, so I'm going to grab that one. I'm going to grab another one and I'm going to grab that. Again, this by no means is perfect, and I do get that. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I want to constrain this to this and this to this. But before I do that, let's come in here and change these to ET height and the other one to ET weight. All right, so all that's done. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click. This is why people don't like this, because it's kind of funky to work with it this way. And it's real easy to make mistakes, etc. See, I didn't want to move that, but I did. You got to click right on there and just literally link it. There it is. And I'm going to say, you know what? I'll make it 32 away. You can see exactly what happened. I'm going to do the same thing here and link that. And again, I'm going to tell it I want it to be 32 away. So those are both done, except this one I want to also link up to the title. All right. And I want to do it to the bottom, but then, so that one's done. Now this one, I want to link up to that one. And I want it to the text bottom. All right. So those are done, except now I got to take this and I'm going to link it here, but I want to move that over. All right. And I'm going to do it over here again. And again, I'm going to move that over. So you can see that right now, and I'm going to fix these two things that are here too. But it doesn't look great, but it sure doesn't look bad. The only thing that is bad, so to speak, about this, if you look at it right now, is if I take this and I turn it landscape, you'll notice this is pretty far away. So I'd have to do some more constraining in order to do that. That's all. All right. But this is meant to be run in portrait mode anyway. So for what it is, it's not terrible. Okay. So I've got all of that stuff done. I could go in and change sizes, etc. The other stuff that I did in here was I grabbed and I highlighted both of these right here. I highlighted them both. And then I went over, in fact, I didn't even do it like that. I was going to do it like that at the beginning. But I wanted, for this one and this one, I went back into code mode. And those are my two edit texts. So I came back in here and I said, gravity. All right. If I say center, what that means is the text should be centered in there now. Does that make sense? And that's what I wanted. Okay. So that one will be centered, and I'm just going to go grab this and throw it down to the other one. So now those two things should be centered. One thing I noticed is it didn't change right away. I had to save it and run it, and then it changed when I ran it. Okay. So again, that's done. I'm going to hit enter here a couple times. You'll see why. So I'm going to go back into here again and go back into design mode. So the only thing that was left was my buttons. All right. As far as oh no, I'm sorry. We had a another text view here. So I did do this. Now, whether this is what I'm going to show you now is good or bad is open to debate. All right. But watch what I do here. I'm going to come in here, and again, I'm going to constrain, and I'm going to constrain, which puts it in the middle. But then I came in, and a lot of people say you shouldn't do what I'm about to show you. But I call this TV stats. Okay, yes, I want to change everything. All right, so that's changed. And I did put a hint there because I didn't like the fact that I kept getting an error otherwise. So the text I removed, and I came down to where it said hint. Come on, there it is. And I wanted to say BMI stats go here. The problem is when I do that, it's still going to give me that error message that it should be in the string resources file. So I went back into the strings resources file and created another one. So string name equals, and this was answer ET. And I just put that in there. Does that make sense? All right. So all that stuff, whoops, that stuff is all done now. Again, just showing you this stuff. All right. And I'm going to jump back into here. So the other thing I did too is now you can't even tell that it's there. So I went over to the width property, and you normally don't give it an exact width, but I did anyway. And I guessed, and as it turned out, it was a pretty good guess. So I put in here 300 dp. And you'll notice right away what happened when I did that. All right. And I'm surprised because I didn't do the height last time, but it was a lot higher than this. So I'm going to change the height too. And there's that. And I'll do the same thing. So 300 dp. Now that should be pretty obvious. It's also way too big, but it should be pretty obvious what just happened there. Let's cut that down to about half. So 150 dp. That's not bad. All right. Now, I'm almost got it to where I want it, but I'm going to move this up a little bit. Okay. And now I want to constrain this over to here. And pull it down a bit. In fact, I don't even have to pull it down. I can still come up here. And I can come up and change it up here and say, make that about 32. The advantage of using this is I can make sure they're all the same size as far as, the way that it's set up. And again, I'm not lying to you. By no means is this perfect, and I get that. All right. So the only thing that's left is to put the two buttons in. So, oops, go to button, button, button. And again, what I'm showing you is the way I did it. So I immediately came in here. I moved them up. I wanted them to be pretty close. Maybe not exactly, but pretty close. All right. And yeah, I want that one down a little bit. But you can see, you can sit there and play with this stuff and do all sorts of junk with it. But I clicked here and I immediately constrained it. All right. Then I changed that and I made it 32. In fact, that wasn't enough. So I think I doubled it, made it 64. All right. Then I did the same thing with this one. All right, so those two are done now, except I wanted to do this. I wanted to constrain that here. And again, I want, not there. And you'll notice when you do this, there it is. And I wanted to move, I'll move that down, again, 32. And I want to do this one. And again, I'm going to move that down, 32. So now almost my whole interface is built. Almost. All right. So what's left? Well, notice under ET height, I've got this thing that says missing autofills attribute. And I've seen that before. I hate that because I don't like there to be yellow in there. So I went in and I Googled it. Never Googled it before. Probably should have, but I Googled it. And they gave you one fix that didn't appear to work. So I put in this one. Android : important for autofill equal no. All right. So all I did was Google the error to find this. So I went back in again into code mode. And for each one of these, so for each one of they were on the two edit texts. So I put that in here. And I put that in here. On both of the edit texts. And you should notice now when I go back into design mode, all right, well, let's see, it says missing accessibility. You should provide Android hint. No, I shouldn't. Those should actually both be okay. Oh, I did put in hints. I'm sorry. So let's look at that. Like I said, I'm not trying to waste my time or your time, but I want to be complete in what I'm showing you here. So I call this and this was my text view. So was this. These were not the edit text. So I came in here and said name equals, and I called it height. This was my edit text. So this was that, but since it was a hint, that's what I did. And I said value between, what was it, for height 12 and 96. And I'm going to grab this. And this will be weight, hint, value between 1 and 777. Okay. Jumping back here then, clicking on this. Then I can go down to hint. Click my resources. That's my height hint. That's now in there. Then do the same thing here for the weight. So again, go to hint, resources, and I want my weight hint. All right. If that's too big, I could always put less code in there. I could have just said, values 12 to 96 or whatever. So now we'll look what's left. Just my button stuff. That's pretty good. There's no errors. There's no anything here. So I'm going to go to my first button, and what I should do right away is rename this. So btn calculate, and it's going to probably tell me again, yes. So that's done, and btn clear. And again, yes. All right. Then I want to go in, and again, the order in which I do this is totally up to me, but I'm going to come up here and say string name equals, and I just reversed what we had before. So I put calculate btn, and that's going to say calculate, oops, if I can spell it. And for the other one, you can already guess, string name equals clear, btn, clear. That makes sense? All right. Then I'm going to come in here. Oops. And jump back into here. Go to this one. I want to remove the text that's in there. And come in here and find my, so there's calculate button. That should now say calculate. Go to the other one. Get rid of the text. And say, I want the clear button. All right. Now, it's 12:30, but we didn't really start till about 12:15. So in 15 minutes, I built the entire interface, named my controls, etc. And now, if I do go in and run this, I would think it's going to look pretty good. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, error. String height ET not found. Okay, well, we'll find that. Activity mainline 22. This string height ET. All right. Oh, because I changed it here too. That's the one that's the text view, and so is the other one. That's the text view. Oops. All right. Hopefully, at least, that fixed it. I don't see any. Look, it's not a bad idea to jump through here and look for anything that might be red. I don't see anything. So I'm going to do a file, save all, and I'm going to try to run it again. When it starts going all through all this stuff that says up to date, that usually is a good sign that it's going to come up okay. All right. Now, I'm not sure why the buttons are so low, even though this area is in here. I guess this is bigger than I thought it was. But you can see, what, in 15 minutes, it looks okay. Again, it's by no means is it perfect. And no, don't want to do it that way. I guess it's just going to take the device and do it. But I could have set it up too, that we could have run it and looked at it that way. All right. If you decide that you want to make your app be landscape instead of portrait, it's not a big thing. All right. Did all that make sense? All right. Like I said, if I bored you, I'm sorry. But that's it. So I'm going to come in here and I'll save it just so I've got it if I ever want it. I'm going to close this and I'm going to bring up this other one, this BMI JPS. I'd like you to do the same thing, please. So you might want to put it onto your desktop if you don't have it there already, or wherever you normally put this stuff. So I'm going to do open an existing project. When you do this, if you look up on the screen here, there's some weird stuff with this editor, but I want to show you something. So I'm going to go over here to my desktop. Right to the desktop. Boom. I'm going to close everything out. Come on, there. And I want to find a thing that's called BMI JPS, okay? If you look on the screen, kind of important here. So I'm going to open this, and I want to find on the desktop BMI JPS. Now you'll notice for yours, you might have something that looks like a folder. And if you do, you want to open it. This is the one that you want to open up, the one that looks like the green Android symbol. All right, so I'm going to click on there and just say okay, and boom. Now we all have the same one up here. All right, and I know we did this yesterday, but there's a few things. I did go back. I added some more comments and a few other things in here. So I'm going to bring up the code. So I'm bringing up main activity here. You now have at the top of your screen, notice what it does by default. If you look on the screen here, it took those 45 lines and just when you click the minus or plus sign, it'll expand or contract it. All right. There's the import statements. You saw those before, and you'll notice that with the imports now, none of them are gray. All right, so they're all being used. I'm just going to close that. And then I came up into here, and again, you'll notice that nothing that's in here right now, nothing that's in here is gray. So all of those constants are being used. All of those class variables are being used. Does that make sense? All right. Then I came down here, and we did this yesterday. So this set those references. I explained that to you yesterday. So again, what we're doing here is we're telling the system, hey, we want to link our Java height text variable to the ET height that's in the XML file. We want to link the weight text variable to the ET weight that's in the XML file. We want to link the answer text Java variable to the TV stats that's in the XML file. Does all that make sense? Again, it's a linking that we're doing between the two, all right? And then we're requesting the focus. All right. Then we come in here, and this is why the program will blow up if we don't put anything in here. If you look right here, because we're doing an integer.parseInt. Now, this isn't nice like a JavaScript would be when you try doing something that's illegal, where you could get something, for example, you could get like an NaN, not a number. It doesn't do that here. The program just blows up. So I thought, well, okay, let's do this. This is what I want to show you now. You don't have to run yours, but I'm going to run this. And I'm purposely going to make it blow up. Hear me? I'm purposely going to have this blow up. So I'm going to put nothing in there. I'll change this right now. There we go. And I'm putting nothing in here on purpose. All right, and I'm clicking calculate. And it blew up, as you would probably guess it would. All right, because it's trying to parse null. So I came down here and I said, okay, well, what do we have in here? Inspector, profiler, run. Okay, so I must have had an error in here, right? So I wanted to see what the error was. So I started looking through this, and it said, wow, I've got an illegal state exception. I've got an invocate target exception. I mean, what is all this stuff? All right, but there's some stuff in here that it didn't like. This is the one I was looking for. See that number format? And it's telling me it had that because the input string I was checking was empty. Does that make sense? The program blew up right there on that line because what I was trying to do with that line is I was trying to take what was in that text box and convert it to an integer. There was nothing in the text box, so the program blew up. So I thought, okay, then I'm going to do this. You don't have to do this because it still didn't work. All right, so I thought I'm going to come in here and put this in a try block. All right, so I'm going to grab this code right here, and I'm going to put it into a try block. All right, and what does this say? This says do it. However, so I'm going to catch here one of those number format exceptions, because that's where it said it blew up, was on a number format exception. Oops, number format exception. You've got to give it a name, so I called it NFE for number format exception. And I'm going to say, you know what? If that happens, if it blows up like that, well, look on the screen. Remember this? We got this toast right here, this thing. So I'm going to try to put that toast in there. All right, but I don't know which one it's going to blow up on. So I could make another one in here that just says, and that's what I ended up doing. Now, I'm just telling you, this may blow up my program. That's why I don't want you to do it, because it screwed mine up when I did it before, and I don't want it to screw up yours. And instead of out of range, I just changed this to no input. Okay? And I'm going to say no input value provided. Okay, so I've got that in there now. So I've done all that. I've got it in my try catch, and I'm going to just do this. So if that happens, what do I want to do? I want to print out a toast that says there was no input provided, and I want to just return that. Does that make sense? That's what I want to do. However, if it doesn't catch that, it does this, it should just go on and start doing this stuff. Do you understand what I'm saying? I could have taken all this code that's here and put it in the try block, but I don't think I need to do that. I tried it both within the try block and not in the try block. But now I'm going to save it. All right, and I'm going to run it again. All right, and now I put in nothing. Now it worked. That's the first time it worked. So that must be what you do. All right. I'm amazed. Honestly, I am amazed. I ran that, I'll bet you, a dozen times with different fixes in there over the weekend. None of them worked. But it's good because now if I put in 72 here and I click calculate, I should get the same error. And I do. Now, look what it's giving me. Out of range height, which is wrong. But the point is, it didn't blow up. That's a good thing. All right. So I can still clear, etc. So that must be how you fix it. What I'm going to do is we're going to keep going. But when I get done with all of this later, I'm going to replace everything that's out on that BMI Androids that I had out there yesterday. I'm going to replace it all with this stuff. Does that make sense? All right. So I'm going to clear here. And I'm just going to stop this. I'm going to close the window. Now, the first thing that I want to do is I want to grab this program that we just did, this BMI JPS. I'm just going to call these BMIs. Maybe I'll just put a new one out there. And in here, I'm going to have at least 3 folders. This one's going to be called V1, and inside of V1 is going to be the thing that I just put in here. All right, except what I want to do, I want it to go, I'll do this. I'm going to copy it there. So there's my version 1. This should go like that. Good, that's done. All right. So the good news is we got that done, and we even fixed an error that I couldn't fix before. So that's honestly, that's a good start. All right. So let's keep going on. And you can follow along with me right now. If you don't want to type it in, don't type it in. Do whatever you want to do. So that's all fine. But now what I'd rather do with this height and with this weight is I'd rather build routines to do that. Does that make sense? All right. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put in this. I'm going to do a Control X and I'm going to say height equals, we'll call it validate height. I may have to change this. I don't know, but we'll look at it in just a minute. I'm getting the red. You should know that by now. I'm getting the red because it hasn't been written yet. All right, so I'll put it right underneath here. I'm just going to put a ton of stuff down here. Method to validate height. All right. Public void validate height. I don't have to pass anything in. I think can I just paste? Nope, I didn't have the curlies. Now I can paste. All right, so what's the problem here? Well, if it's bad, I'm going to get the toast, okay? But it's just going to return. I don't want that. I want it to return true if the height was valid and false if the height wasn't valid. Does that make sense? All right, so I'm going to change the return type on this to Boolean. And in this case, I'm going to say return false. And if I get down this far, I'm going to say return true. Now look at this, because I want to make sure you get this. So the first thing I'm doing in here is I'm saying height equals this. Well, it's not going to be this anymore. I'm going to use one of those variables. You've seen me use this before. I'm going to say Boolean, keep going, and I'm going to set it equal to true. Okay? All right. So I've got this now. Now this is going to be keep going equal validate height. And I only want to validate my weight if keep going is still true. Does that make sense? All right. You're shaking your heads, and I'm believing you. But if you do have questions, I do want you to ask. So this routine again says if the height is less than a minimum, so if it's less than 12 or it's greater than the maximum, meaning it's greater than 98, so less than 12 or greater than, it was 96, not 98. So we give that toast that should say out of range, and it should return false. If the if was not true, we put in a valid height, so we're just returning true. All right, so boom. So I'm back up to here. So I'm going to say here, if keep going, which remember is just a shortcut for saying if keep going equal true. All right, now I want to come in and say keep going equals validate weight. All right, but if it wasn't true, I'm getting that error because I haven't written that, else I'm just going to say return. There's no sense in going on because I put in an invalid weight. Does that make sense? All right, so I'm going to grab my routine I just wrote for validating the height. I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to put it in again, but at this time it'll be validate weight. And I'm going to go in and very slowly, so I don't miss any, W, 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 W. All right. So this means it was either less than 1 or it was greater than 777. All that makes sense? All right. So if I return true for both of these, if I have done that, all right, then, oh, I guess they still had this in there. So I will remove that. So if I get down to this point right here, okay, let's put it this way. If I make it to here, the validate height method returned true. And I shouldn't even say if I make it to here. If this if is true, the validate height returned true. All right. And I can put the same comment, well, same kind of comment. Otherwise, I'm going to return. So I want to call validate weight. All right. Otherwise, again, I'm just going to return. If we get to here, as it says, both the inputted height and the inputted weight were valid. So now I can calculate the BMI. Does that make sense? All right. So I'm going to pull this line out. It's just one line, so I really could write it in here, but I'm just going to call calculate BMI. All right. Now, I'm not getting an error, and I don't believe I am, at least, other than this, and I'm not sure why that is. It expected an argument. Well, we'll look in just a minute. Oh, it's going to expect, I know what the problem is. I'll fix it in a minute. But the reason I'm not getting an error here is in our activity main, if I go back to code mode, did I add an on click? Because I don't know if I did or not. On click, calculate BMI. On click, clear. See those? All right. Remember, I could add them here, and I also showed you how to add them in design mode over in here. So you could do it either way. All right. And there really and truly is no difference as far as I know. So I want to call calculate BMI. We're going to fix that error in just a minute. When we write this, we'll fix the error. So calculate BMI according to the, I don't know, formula. Okay. Now, I'm going to say public void calculate, calculate BMI. The reason that I was getting that error before is that it's expecting this is going to say view, okay? But I don't need that, okay? Because I'm not doing anything. I'm just doing a calculation. I don't think I'm going to need anything. Now, if I'm wrong, then I'll come back and add them. So I want to paste that in. There's my BMI line, okay? Notice there's no error here, and the one up here should have now, come on, been removed. See that? All right. So now I want to calculate the BMI status. So I'm going to grab all of this code that's right here, and I'm going to call, oops, that wasn't good. Put that back. All right. And I'm going to call calculate BMI status. Again, I'm getting the red because it hasn't been written yet. So I'm going to come down here now and say this. Calculate the BMI status. Public void calculate BMI status. Now I can paste all that in. Notice no errors. There should be no error up here where I've called it. And there that is. Make sense? All right. Now, build output string. So it's really build and assign. So I'm going to call it both. So I'm going to call build and assign output string. Again, error, it's red because I haven't written it yet. So we're going to write that right now. Public void build and assign output string. Paste that in. Okay. Now, if I didn't screw anything up, it should run and look exactly like it did before. All right. So if it doesn't, then we'll have to go back in there and debug it. So I'm going to save all, and I'm just going to run it. Notice it didn't give me any errors or anything. They're in there. Nothing's red. I'm not even going to lie. I don't know what a lot of this means. It says access denied. I don't know what that is. But let's look. All right. So 72, 71 is fine. 111. Okay, so I have to click this to make that go away and click on here, 71, 111, 15.48, which is underweight. Okay, clear. Let's try one. Again, you should always try everything. So let's try optimal weight. And that is clear. Overweight, clear. And obese. They all seem to work. All right. So let's clear. Let's try it with nothing. Okay. I get my outer range. I still got to check why that's saying height. I'm not sure why it is, but it is. Technically, it is an outer range height. Does that make sense? Because it is less than 12. But I'm just surprised it gave me that. And notice if I put in here 72, so I've got a height there, but I don't have a weight. So if I go in here now, come on, and click calculate, it still says out of range height. See that? So something's kind of wonky in there, but I'm not sure what it is. And if I come in here now and I put in a height 555 and let's put in a weight of 111 and I click this and click calculate, there's that outer range height. That's what I wanted. All right, I'm going to clear it again and now I'm going to put in just 55. It doesn't matter. And 2222 and I'm going to again click and wow, something's wrong. See that? Something's got to be wrong because it did give me my error, but it calculated it anyway. See that? So something, I may not have changed one, I don't know, but it allowed a weight of 2222. Notice when I click calculate, it still gives me the error message, but it did it anyway. So there's an error in my code. All right. See if I can find the error. Oops, there it goes. So, weight, that looks good. Weight, that looks good. Validate height, validate weight, validate height, validate weight, 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 weight. Not sure, just taking a quick look at it, what the problem is. Oh, I know. Notice what I did. I called here validate weight, otherwise return. But I told it no matter what to do this. See that? No matter what, it's going to go and do this. What I want to do is I want to say here, if keep going. I only want to do this and go on and do the rest of these things. I only want to do these if keep going was set equal to true. All right. Now, if it's false, it should just return, but I don't want to leave any doubt. So I'm going to say else return. Let's try it again. I'm not going to run the same tests I did before. I mean, to me, that's a little silly. I don't want to, I'm giving you enough overkill anyway, but 72, whatever, and 5555. There's the error message. All right, and clear. Okay. Now, I thought about this later, and I didn't put it in, so let's take a look right now. So if this is bad, okay, we know this is bad, correct? Would you agree? We know this is bad here. We know that it's bad here. So probably what we should have done is we should have come in there and said, hey, you know what? Height text dot set text to nothing. And height text dot request focus. Wouldn't that make sense to do that? Just clear that out. And then grab that, put it down here. Make sure you do that before you return, you know, I'm sure that makes sense to both of you. And this has got to be weight here and here. Now let's, one last time, let's come in here, file, save all, and let's run it. Now I would normally go back and be rerunning all these tests again, all right? But I just want to see if I do this now and I put in 6666, 333, and I come in here, calculate, there's my message, and notice it's gone. Some people do not like putting hint text in for this reason. See that? They find that confusing. And I'm going to put in here 77, and let's just put another 3 in here. Calculate. There's our error, and it cleared. Okay? So we have now written this twice. Does that make sense to both of you? All right. The first time we wrote it, we had no modularization whatsoever. This time we have modularization. What we are going to do, not here, but after we go through chapters 2 and 3, we'll add a second screen. And we'll add another button. And if you go to the second screen, what it'll do is it'll give you how many total that you've had that are underweight, optimal weight, overweight, and obese. And that's going to allow me to show you intents and also passing information to another screen. All right, so that's what we're going to do, probably not until like around the end of next week or so. All right, but just so you have an idea what's coming up. So that's the second one. Now, I've got 3 of them that I wrote. So like I said, I wanted to go over all these. And I'm not even going to ask just because maybe I'm afraid of your answer, but I'm hoping you don't consider this a waste of time. All right? I realize that we're doing a program that you've done before. All right? And it's a program you know inside and out. I mean, if you ever go in for a job interview and you are given, somebody comes in and says, Keegan, I want you to write a BMI program. You kind of laugh and say, oh, geez, what language do you want it in? Type of thing, because you've done it that many times. All right, so I'm looking in here. This is where I put in the try, so I can just get, we've actually done that one. Yep, there's no other information in here. So I'm going to put in we're going to do the last one. You can watch me do that, and you're going to have quite a bit of time for lab today. All right. So I'm going to grab this. I'm going to do a file, save all. All right. And I'm going to grab this and make a second thing here that's called V2. And I'm going to take what I have right now and I'm going to pass that into it. So I'm going to copy it there. I'm only changing this one. And I will tell you, if you haven't already noticed this, I think you got hit with this. Once you've gone into here, don't change the names of folders. It's just so easy to screw it up here. It's like this is an editor that's looking to screw with you. Pardon my French, but it is. All right. So we're going to do the last one. And I want to see what I put in. I know some of the stuff that I put in here, but I want to see the rest. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do in this last one here is I'm going to bring, this is still up and running, etc. All right. And this is the way our interface currently looks. Okay. So I'm going to come up here, and if you don't know this, like I said, you can click common. You can go to any one of these. All right. Common is one that most people keep up most of the time, but I want one of these. That's an image view. Okay. And it comes in and it says, well, like, what do you want in here? Well, we'll change that, but for now, so we have something in there, let's see if it takes that. We'll leave that avatar in there. All right. And I'm going to come in, and guess what I'm going to do? Kind of what you'd expect me to do, but I'm going to put this down towards the bottom. All right. And I'm going to come in and constrain it. Whoops. Try that again. I'm going to constrain it here. I'm going to constrain it here. I'm going to constrain this one to here. Now, one thing is, I think if I try doing this, see what it did? It only wants one of them to be constrained because those two are together. I wasn't even aware of that, but I'm going to come in and make a couple changes in here. I'm going to also pin this right to the bottom, and I'll leave it like that. That looks pretty good. All right. Now, right now, I'm just going to save this. And I do believe that if we run this, it's going to show it. I could be wrong, and we could get an error, but I don't think we will. Okay, and you say it's not there. All right. It's because I didn't give it a name and set all this stuff up, etc. But the problem is we don't have much real estate down here. All right. And that reminds me, too, there's one last thing I did want to tell you about what we did earlier, and that is I'm going to go back to this thing. And there are two properties that I set here. One we looked at, one we did not. All right. And they're almost right next to one another. They're probably already set, so they jump up here when they're set. Lines means how many lines are you putting in here? You should also set max lines. They're both set to 4. That's why this thing will hold 4 different things. And even though it's this big, it's actually bigger than that because it puts in the stuff for all 4 of them, right? Now, I've got the size on there. I think that's one of the things that's screwing it up because I've got the size set for 18. Multiply that by 4. It's setting it to 72. You see what I'm saying? So I could make it smaller. I'm just going to leave it where it is. All right. So one thing that I want to do, should have done this right away, but I didn't. I'm going to change this to IV for image view. And we'll just call this, how about status? I don't know. Maybe that's not a good name, but I'm going to call it that anyway. All right. And I'm going to refactor. Okay. That didn't do anything, but I am going to go back into my main activity file. And where I've got all of these things in here, I'm going to add another one right here. You don't have to do it here, but to me it makes sense to do this. So image view, and I'm just going to call it, I don't know what we called it. I know I called it IV status, but how about just picture? It's a stupid name, but it's what I'm going to use. All right. So image of BMI status. Not a great name. You know this already. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do my Alt-Enter and import the class. Sometimes it asks you, sometimes it does it automatically, but there's the one that it just put in. Okay? Now that I've done that, I've also got to come back in here and do the same thing here. So this was picture, stupid name, picture equals find view by ID r.id. AV status. Now I'm able to go in and use it. Does that make sense? All right. So there's actually, I could be wrong here, but I don't think there was any extra code that I had to add in order to be able to do that, but I want to look very quickly. Well, we're going to know real quick. But this is what I'm going to do. And again, do I expect you to do what I'm about to show you? For your project, for sure. All right, so I want to come in here and I'm going to do this. I'm going to go into Google Images. And I'm going to say here, I'm just going to start looking for some stuff. So I'm going to say Underweight Cartoon. Well, you can see I already did this. All right. This is the one I chose. I'm going to choose a different one this time, so it looks a little different. I actually do like that one, and I didn't like most of the rest of the ones that were in here. But how about this? We'll do this one. All right, so I'm going to do right mouse click, and I'm going to do a save image as. For now, I'm just going to throw all of them under the desktop, okay? So underweight. So there's that one. Then I'm going to come in and say optimal weight. Okay, so I want people who look healthy. Before, after. I want somebody who just looks healthy. How about that one? That'll work. All right, so again, I'm going to save the image as, and I'm going to call this optimal weight. All right. Then I want an overweight cartoon. That's one thing. I'm never going to put people's in here. I don't think that's a good thing to do, but everybody's different. Maybe you think that's okay. I just think that's kind of bad. I used that one before. Let's use this little guy right here. And I'm going to save the image, and we'll call that overweight. And then finally, let's do an obese. All right. I think I used that one last time. So, sorry, lady. We'll just call that obese. Now, you may or may not have noticed, but when I showed you this before we started creating anything, they were different sizes. I don't like that. It gives like an accordion look when you're doing that. I don't like that. So what I'm going to do is I now have all of these. I'm just going to start. I'll just show you with one of them. But you all know how to do this anyway. I'm going to, there's the underweight. And if I click on properties here, it'll show me this somewhere. Well, I thought it did. You can see the size. So I'll tell you what, I'll open it up using Paint. All right. And I'll go to resize pixels, and it says it's 225 by 225. Okay. That's not bad. I'm going to see if I can make all four of them 225 by 225. So that's okay. That one's fine. So I'm going to go to the next one, which was optimal weight. And I'm going to open that one with Paint. Maybe they all are already. I don't know. And nope, I want that to be 225 by 225. So I'm not going to tell it to maintain its ratio. 225 by 225 and click OK. That still doesn't look too bad. So I'm going to say File, Save. So the two of them are done. Overweight, let's go to that one. And again, resize. Notice that this one might look a little bit goofy because I want to make it the same size. So 225 by 225. Okay. So I don't know how good that does or doesn't look, but it's not terrible either. So I'm going to save that. And finally, I'm going to come back to the last one, which was our obese. And I'm going to do an open with Paint. Resize pixels. Again, don't maintain the ratio. 225 by 225. Okay, okay, and save. So those are all done. I think you'd agree. All right, all of them are done now. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to come back into my program. All right, and in here, I'm going to come back in and I'm going to go underneath my layout, my drawables right there. I'm going to right mouse click and I'm going to choose new, and you can choose either image asset or vector asset. All right, I used image for years, and then I read a thing online where they said vector, for whatever reason, the way that it actually pixelates it shows a better image. That's what they said. So I'm going to try it with vector. Okay, and it says, what do you want? All right, so what do I want? I want to add something in here. I want to add a local file. Notice there is clip art, okay? But I want to add a local file, and where's the path to the local file, etc.? Well, where is it? Well, let's see. I've got to go out to my desktop, and it's going to be a pain in the butt to try to find it from here, so I'll tell you I'm going to do it the other way. That is, hopefully this is going to work okay. That is, I'm going to come right in here. I want this to be only halfway open. All right. And in my drawable here, I'm going to right mouse click and drag right into that drawable there. All right. And it says, what do you want? I want to put it in drawable. All right. And it actually should work. Okay. We'll see. Notice on overweight, underweight, optimal. I did not put in any uppercase letters. Please don't put in any uppercase letters if you do this. Don't name anything with uppercase. So I'm going to say refactor. Did it put it in? There it is. So it looks like it worked. We'll know in about 5 minutes. So I've got that one. Let's bring in optimal. All right. Refactor. There's optimal. Let's bring in overweight. There's overweight. Let's bring in obese. Okay, so it brought them in. It literally moved them. You see that? The way that I did it that way? Well, hopefully that's not going to be any kind of problem. We're going to find out right away, though. All right, so let's see. One thing I got to think about is, well, what do I want to have happen when the program starts? Does that make sense? So I will have to put a little bit of code in here because I forgot to bring in one of these. So I'm going to close this, and this, and this, and this. All right. So I'm going to come back out one more time, back into Google Images, and I'll put in here Bmi Calculator. All right. And let's grab one that wasn't used before. So I'm going to grab this one. Okay. All right. And again, I'm going to save the image as, I'm just going to call it Bmi Calculator. All right. And put it on the desktop. That's fine. But I am going to open it. It's probably, this one probably is going to look skewed, because you can see that it's not square. It's a lot wider than it is taller. So this one might look funky, but I'm going to use it anyway. I don't care. 225 by 225. Click OK. Like I said, I know that doesn't look that great, but you see it. I could choose a different one if I wanted to. I'm just going to leave it there. All right. So that's all fine and dandy. What else do I want to do? All right. I want to make sure that when the program starts, that the one that's loaded in there is this one. Does that make sense? Okay. Well, how do I do that? Well, I'm going to close this. I'll put this in, and then we're going to take a break. All right. So I come back over here, and I didn't add that one yet, so I better do that. So let's right mouse click on Bmi Calculator. Drag that up here. Again, choose everything. Boom. Now that's in there. All right. This isn't terrible. It's just that it could look nicer. All right. So all that stuff is done. But I want to go back in now, and I want to go into my activity main, and I want to go here where I've got my avatar. I may have to change it. All right. I know I'm going to have to change this, but I have to give it the path of what I want and where it is. So let's see if I can do that. There it is. Bmi Calculator. All right. Click OK. And you see it changed. All right, now it looks like this is going to have to be moved up at least a little bit there. So I could do it like that, or I could come down to here because it's set to 0. I could just pump it up to like 16. All right. Now, we're going to take a break literally in 2 minutes. But I'm going to click Save All, and I'm going to run it just to see if that picture is in there now. All right. Because otherwise I missed something. I would never try to miss something, but I could have. So I'm gonna come here to calculate. Okay, out of range. Yeah, that's good. Come on. That's supposed to leave when you do that. It's not showing. So I'm missing something, and I don't remember what it is. It's a good time to take a break. It's 1:15. Let's come back at 1:30.